Today at 5, beautiful homes and sunset views. It's one of Southern California's most lavish developments, but some say what's inside this bag is the same thing lurking beneath hundreds of homes.
Are the people that live there now, are they in danger because of this?
It's an enormous danger. The explosion being the big, large thing.
The developers and the city say it's safe. In a Channel 4 News special investigation, Paul Moyer reveals documents never before made public that are raising burning questions. Today at 5, only on the Channel 4 News. Live from NBC4, this is the Channel 4 News at 5.
For the people that are living there now, how much of a danger is there for them?
It's an enormous danger.
A Channel 4 News investigation. What's beneath the ground at one of the most luxurious housing developments in the Southland? Tonight, the potential hot zone, hidden gas, and the burning question it raises. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Paul Moyer. We begin tonight with a Channel 4 News investigation, explosive underground oil gases. Of course, those gases are strewn all throughout Southern California, much of it. After all, we are a land of oil wells. But tonight, an investigation into how one of the most ambitious real estate developments in West Los Angeles, Playa Vista, is handling the challenge. It is a housing development whose first residents will probably number more than 12,000.
Fire in the streets. 1985, the Fairfax section of Los Angeles. Leaking fumes from underground oil deposits catch fire and explode through the Ross department store. This lawyer and engineering consultant helped win a lawsuit for the victims. Now Bernard Endres has his sights set on another potential hot zone.
This is the largest gas seepage site that has ever been located anywhere in the United States.
He and environmentalist Patricia McPherson are battling the developers of Playa Vista, a 1,000-acre commercial and residential site in the wetlands near Marina del Rey. They say underground oil gases pose an extreme hazard.
The ground is almost 100% saturated with gas in certain areas.
The entire area was once dotted with oil rigs, and the Hughes aircraft facility spewed toxic chemicals. A commercial gas storage facility, now owned by Southern California Gas, extends underground from the bluffs near Playa Vista to the Marina Peninsula. The wells were capped and buried years ago, though this one still leaks gas in the Bayona Lagoon. Endres says a much larger quantity of gas is seeping into an old riverbed deep under Playa Vista and leaking upwards.
The gas spreads out into a large geographic area.
When the developers first began planning for all of this, Playa Vista, back in the early 1990s, the city commissioned an impact study which acknowledged the presence of flammable methane and toxic BTEX chemicals. But within certain guidelines, it proclaimed the site safe for development.
The 1993 EIR stated there were no shallow zones or pockets of gas that could seep to the surface under the Playa Vista site. None. No gas.
Well, game over.
Game over.
But McPherson and Endres began noticing signs of widespread gas migration. Bubbles in Centinela Creek, which they say tested positive for gas. Bubbles in boat slips in Marina del Rey, which flared when ignited. They also discovered early studies commissioned by the developers, indicating dangerous levels of hydrogen sulfide at the site and widespread gas contamination.
Which was proof positive that they had found oil field gas surfacing all across the Playa Vista site.
Early engineering studies by the city described Playa Vista as, quote, a high-risk area and confirmed hydrogen sulfide and BTEX gases at the site and methane concentrations.
Levels of methane gas that could be explosive.
One state agency became concerned.
Some of the BTEX chemicals are cancer-causing chemicals, known human carcinogens.
Another state agency is accused of looking the other way, at least in the beginning.
It was made clear to me when I joined the PUC that the development was going to happen and that no state agency should stand in the way. It was very clear that the biggest Democratic donors in town were behind that development deal. From my perspective, there was a whole atmosphere of, we don't want to see anything.
In the year 2000, Playa Vista developers spent more money lobbying the city than almost any other company. They also passed out publicity flyers saying there was, quote, little methane at the site. The next year, a city reviewer gave the project a green light.
The city really was not looking at the key health issues that were involved here.
The city said the SoCalGas underground storage facility, quote, is not the source of methane contamination found at the site, a point repeatedly emphasized by Playa Vista and SoCalGas. The report also shrank the methane concentrations and declared the risk from hydrogen sulfide and BTEX to be, quote, insignificant, with no further investigation warranted. Not everybody was convinced.
There was information that we were not provided.
The state's Department of Toxic Substances Control called the city report, quote, incomplete, and faulted participating engineers for running gas tests in clean soil that had been brought in to cover the contamination.
That would obviously not result in an accurate reading.
Walter Merschott, an engineer who took part in the testing, confirms in writing that it was often done in newly laid cover soil known as surcharge, which he says conceals gases and results in inaccurate, lower or non-detectable readings of methane, hydrogen sulfide, and BTEX.
I don't think we were getting correct answers.
As construction continued, the city instructed developers and homeowners to install safety systems to keep the gas in check. But now, with the project half complete, Endres and McPherson have uncovered what they see as evidence that some safety measures are not working.
They've had problems with them, yes.
In fact, a city expert has warned the city council that a series of experimental 50-foot vent wells designed to siphon off gas in the most dangerous high methane areas may not be effective.
A deep vent well will not work properly where you have high water table or you have a soil, clay soils or clay sands, which could clog up the deep vent well.
Fire department documents dating from the past year show few gas alarms going off inside the buildings, but various breakdowns in gas monitoring systems, especially at the Fountain Park Apartments. During recent visits there, Endres and McPherson spotted bubbles percolating up through the water-soaked floor of a basement parking structure.
You had that tested, you're sure that was gas?
I took a combustible meter out there. It registered combustible gas coming up.
That means, says Endres, that a membrane shield placed beneath the building is leaking.
The membrane system that was to keep the gas from moving upwards has totally failed.
Another seep.
McPherson and Endres have recently spotted what they say are new gas seeps, including one at Playa Vista itself and another just across the highway in the marshes. The fumes they collected in a plastic bag showed explosive potential.
Wow, what's that?
It's an enormous amount of gas surfacing out there.
So for the people that are living there now, that are working there now, that are going there now, and more to come, how much of a danger is there for them?
It's an enormous danger.
Under earthquake conditions, the soil could literally turn to quicksand, providing a chimney for the immediate migration of the gas directly underneath the building.
To get the other side of this story, we asked the new owners of the Fountain Park Apartments to comment on our findings about the bubbles and the faulty monitors. Essex Property Trust, Inc., which recently bought the apartments from Playa Vista, replied, quote, no comment. The city's Building and Safety Department, Playa Vista, and SoCal Gas all declined on-camera interviews. SoCal and Playa, after agreeing to go on camera, offered written comments instead. In summary, much of Playa Vista's response is an attack on McPherson, whose claims they say have, and I quote, been determined time and time again to be false, misleading, and inaccurate, close quote. On the issue of the safety measures, Playa Vista quotes from city reports prepared 4 years ago that, quoting, found the proposed methane mitigation measures are adequate for the Playa Vista development site, close quote. SoCal Gas says, quoting, the storage field remains safe and secure, close quote. And the developers echo that claim, saying, again quoting, the methane at Playa Vista is not from the Southern California gas reservoir. The composition of the gases is different, close quote. On that point, McPherson and Endres have obtained a revealing new confidential study.
The document absolutely, incontrovertibly shows the Southern California Gas Company hasn't been forthright with the public.
It was prepared last November by a division of the PUC, the State Public Utilities Commission, which regulates SoCal Gas. It reveals that engineers working for Playa Vista and the city 6 years ago found gas with the chemical components of SoCal storage gas near the site of the Fountain Park Apartments, which is far from the underground reservoir itself. The author says there is a, quote, greater than 50% probability of the sample being SoCal storage gas. He also says, and I quote, these findings do not indicate any wrongdoing on the part of SoCal Gas, but suggest the existence of a potential safety hazard and the need for further investigation and study.
The PUC knows there's a danger out there. The PUC knows that there's storage gas coming to the surface, knows that there's oil field gas coming to the surface.
What's undeniable is there is gas in the system in this development. Let's figure out who's likely to be harmed and how we should move it. I don't think people want to know the answer.
Most of McPherson's charges have been leveled in lawsuits. She's trying to force the city to do a new impact study about the gas situation at Playa Vista. So far, she has lost 2 lawsuits, and one of those decisions is up for appeal. The city and Playa Vista both claim in court there is nothing new to be studied, but McPherson believes the information revealed in tonight's broadcast may finally prompt a second look at what she sees as new dangers at that site. You can also see this story on our website, including the full statement from Southern California Gas and Playa Vista Development. Just log on to www.nbc4.tv.
Today at 5 on the Channel 4 News. Last month, we broke the story of a government report about methane gas under a Southland subdivision. Now, in another exclusive report, Channel 4 News unearths more on this potential danger beneath the soil of a massive development that includes plans for a grade school.
Why would you want to gamble with the lives of kids like so many canaries in a coal mine?
Channel 4's Paul Moyer goes deep to get at the truth. Burning Questions, Area D. Today at 5, only on the Channel 4 News. Live from NBC4, this is the Channel 4 News at 5:30.
It is one of the most luxurious housing developments in Southern California, but underneath the ground, a potential hot zone, hidden gas. And tonight we've unearthed new information on this potential danger. Good evening once again. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Paul Moyer. We begin here on Channel 4 at 5:30 with one of the most ambitious real estate developments in West Los Angeles, Playa Vista. Several weeks ago, we broke Burning Questions, the exclusive story of a state government report about methane gas seeping under the Southland subdivision. Now, in another exclusive tonight, Channel 4 unearths more on this potential danger beneath the soil of the massive development, which includes plans for a grade school.
It is a 1,000-acre real estate development just south of Marina del Rey, expected to attract 12,000 residents in the next 6 years. But luxurious Playa Vista is also located next to underground gas reserves and deep oil deposits that critics say are leaking poisonous chemicals to the surface.
No, there isn't a site in the United States that's been built with these kinds of oil field gas conditions.
Patricia McPherson is an environmentalist. She and gas expert Bernard Andres are battling in court to force the developers to take another look at gas conditions all across the site.
The gas levels in the near-surface soil are so enormous.
A letter from the LA Unified School District suggests McPherson and Andres are not the only ones concerned. In 2001, it says, a possible school site at Playa Vista was deemed unacceptable by LAUSD due to acknowledged methane releases. McPherson says that sums up what's wrong with Playa Vista as a whole.
It sums it up because the methane levels out here are so high and it's so unpredictable.
City engineers have mapped methane gas under Playa Vista, including explosive concentrations coded here in red. They've also detected toxic BTEX chemicals and contamination from man-made sources. The developers' own studies have uncovered dangerous levels of hydrogen sulfide, known as H2S.
The gas masks were there for a reason.
Jerry Mabry was a security man at Playa Vista back in the late 1990s. As he writes in this affidavit, he remembers an instance when he discovered an engineering crew in gas masks wandering around the site, warning of explosive methane.
They'd hit a pocket of gas, and it was possible danger of explosion.
Later, Mabry says he took a camera crew to an area where he'd previously encountered dead vegetation and sulfuric smells associated with hydrogen sulfide. This video, he says, was shot during the nighttime visit.
You could see bubbling up through the water, and the surrounding vegetation was dead. And you could see small insects died there, snails or other insects.
Mabry became alarmed and warned Playa Vista, and then quit and turned his findings and affidavit over to McPherson. He blames the city for not doing enough to assure the safety of the project.
The city wanted this so bad that they fast-tracked the permit process.
In fact, the city council signed off on Playa Vista in 2001. Its official report declared the toxic chemicals to be, quote, insignificant, and said enough is known about the potential methane hazards to allow for appropriate mitigation. But McPherson and Endres have spotted what they see as fresh signs of uncertainty in the gas picture. A new leak near the townhouse area, another across the highway in the marshes, where they collected enough flammable gas in a plastic bag to create a makeshift blowtorch as our cameras recorded the action. They've also uncovered a final confidential report by the city's own former chief engineer, which says that gas pockets at Playa Vista are, quote, too erratic to be predictable, especially in an earthquake.
There could be a large surge of gas, and then it could create an even larger explosion hazard.
In the meantime, gas experts and concerned insiders are stepping forward to help Endres and McPherson persuade the city and Playa Vista to re-examine gas conditions at this site.
We're concerned about the risk of an explosion.
Florence Garibian of the California Department of Toxic Substances Control says the city and Playa Vista often conducted gas tests in fresh cover soil that can conceal the gas.
The samples that had been collected were not complete.
She says she remembers one episode in late 2001, secretly videotaped by McPherson. The video shows engineers at Playa digging up and blending possibly contaminated sludge with clean soil just before the state inspector shows up. When he does arrive, they keep him off the site and give him a scoopful of the blended dirt for testing.
How can you get an accurate reading when you're fluff and folding the soil?
Garibian won't comment on whether her man was deliberately misled, but she does acknowledge the incident took place and says that questions remain about Playa Vista.
There could be dangers associated with the levels of gas that are present at this site.
I really wouldn't rely on those numbers.
Engineer Walter Merschat says he's also worried about the way testing was done at Playa Vista, where he worked as a lead consultant for the city.
I was the first guy to sample there.
He says gas samples were sometimes taken too far apart to detect all the methane present, especially beneath the main construction site known as Area D.
Area D was probably sampled a little too sparsely. In some cases, you could be within 15 or 20 or 25 feet, say, of a methane seep and not really detect it.
This methane map is based on the testing Merschat did for the city and covers the southern edge of Playa Vista. The blue shading represents low methane concentrations. Now consider a more recent gas map of the same area, based on more extensive testing by Playa Vista contractors. It shows two newly discovered underground methane concentrations rated hazardous by the city. The